Oh, okay. Yeah. Right. Oh,
We always
yeah,
have
I mean, they gotta get all the regulatory stuff
Yeah.
out of the way.
I emailed her Friday.
Yeah, I saw that, I found
I'm just
that.
gonna go call.
Okay, begin to wonder.
Yeah, right.
If Cheryl's coming.
No, I emailed with her Friday. She said she was.
This is outside.
Oh, we're doing it right, and then
Larry called White Evans.
right.
Very
Makes sense.
Encouraged me, because Ian said that 50 years ago or so, they did create a waiver for counties that we do have to have.
Well, I'm getting clarification because I think there actually might be two
Right.
issues. One is consolidation of primaries, which is the resolution passed. And then the second is this issue that we've not done yet.
I'll catch you next time.
Yeah.
I'll try to talk to them. Yeah. Hey, Cheryl.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Because they said that was a big one.
Yeah, that's what I thought. We never did that.
No, we did on the first one.
Gary went after it.
They think
Oh,
very
see,
smart.
Kurt comes out, Liz is
How about you?
Oh, okay.
Money right now.
Yeah, I got a little way late.
Money right now, that's all life is.
We made it.
Life is good. All of you.
Got a good picture of you Friday night, Michael.
Yeah. It was hard to
No complaints.
No, of course not.
That's the only thing I could find, our people get benefit out of what we do. Well, really,
Right.
I have fun of this, that's what
There is a, how are you?
I thought that too. See Larry's
Okay.
Neil?
Neil coming? Have you heard from Neil?
No, he's not coming.
Call the meeting to order. Roll call, please, Terry.
Brennan?
Here.
Chartran?
Here.
Delhoff?
Here.
Halfway?
Here.
King?
Here.
Colzer?
Here.
Marwahan? Here. Mosier?
Here.
Peppers? Excused. Chabot?
Here. Please stand. We'll have an invocation. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for the blessings you have bestowed upon us. We keep in mind all those that suffer and those that cannot be here with us today. We ask you to give your blessing upon them that may bring a smile and a light of ray of hope to their face. Amen. Pledge to the flag. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we'll hold our public hearing regarding the community development block grants. We will hear comments on the county's community development housing needs and to discuss the possible submission of one or more community development block grant application for the 2015 program year. So at this time, do we have any comments from the floor?
Mike, we need to do the rules and legislation.
Ways and rules have met. Do we have a motion to accept the? Craig?
Yeah.
Moved by Craig, seconded by Larry. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, at this time, Cheryl, would you care to address the?
Yeah, I had, there's information that needs to get read into the minutes.
Right, and I can read that.
Okay,
All right.
and then I
I
can
can
give
read
you some comments.
Okay. Lewis County will hold a public hearing on Monday, the 14th at 3 o'clock at the courthouse for the purpose of hearing public comments on the county's community development and housing needs and to discuss the possible submission of one or more community development block grant applications for the 2015 program year. The CDBG program provides funds to local governments for housing, economic development, public facilities, public infrastructure, and planning, with the principal beneficiaries being persons of low or moderate income. The CDBG program is administered by the New York State Office of Community Renewal. The program may also aid in eliminating slums and blight in addressing urgent needs. The hearing will provide information about and allow for participation in the possible development of the grant application, comment on any proposed projects, and receive technical assistance to develop alternate proposals. The hearing is being conducted in compliance with the requirements of the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974 as amended. The Lewis County Courthouse is accessible to persons with disabilities. Special interpretive arrangements can be made for residents with hearing impairments or those in need of translation for English. Those persons should contact the clerk at least 1 week in advance of the hearing. Approximately $10 million is available for community development block grant funding for housing activities this funding round, and the application is due September 25. The county can apply for up to $850,000 for housing projects that would include housing rehabilitation, replacement of mobile homes, home ownership assistance, and residential water and wastewater systems, such as well and septic system replacement that primarily benefit low and moderate income persons. At least 51% of the persons benefiting from the CDBG program must be low and moderate income persons according to the HUD income limits provided in the application. 70% of the New York State CDBG funds must benefit low and moderate income persons. That's information that was required to be read into the
Okay, thank you, Terry. Cheryl, any other comments?
Thank you, and I appreciate you having this special meeting to consider an application. We'd like the county to consider a home ownership application. We don't have the amount yet. I'm still working on it. It's due the 25th, but we're looking at probably about $400,000. We can apply for more than that. The county can apply for more than that, but the money has to be spent in 2 years, so we really don't know how many grants that we'll be able to do, and it's better to to have a continual program than to apply for too much and then have to turn money back. The program would provide down payment, closing cost, and repair assistance to income-eligible applicants to purchase their first home. The assistance would be in the form of a 100% deferred payment loan for up to $35,000 per unit. That would become a grant as long as they remain in the home for 10 years. The home must be an existing single-family home, and it could be located anywhere in the county. Snowbelt Housing would administer the grant as the subrecipient of the county. We're currently administering a $200,000 homeownership program that was awarded in December of last year, and those funds will be expended by the end of this year. We've committed to 7 projects right now. We've closed on 3 homes. We have another closing scheduled for next week. And then we have 2 other ones that are pending. We do have some people who are on a waiting list, but we don't have any more funding. So since you're taking notes, Steve, if anybody's interested, they need to get on a waiting list, so they should call our office for an application. We do have some applications pending right now, but we've run out of money. So that's basically it. We could apply for housing rehab as well as homeownership, but we had our exit conference we weren't funded for the housing rehab. Frank and I sat in on an exit conference, and There's some things that we need to do, because it's so competitive, there's some things that we need to do to sort of strengthen our application, and we really don't have a lot of people on our waiting list for housing rehab. So we'd really like to take some time and do some more marketing of that program, work on finalizing, kind of doing a better job of addressing what the housing needs are in Lewis County through some more data collection, and we did find out that they're looking at trying to get back on track next year, so it looks like in the springtime they may have another funding round. This is kind of late in the year. They used to always do it in the spring, and then they've kind of gotten off track with all the other funding out there, so.
Cheryl, the one that you're talking about here for housing purchases, what's the threshold, income threshold?
The income threshold for one person, it's $33,550, and then it goes up from there, usually $2,000 or $3,000 up from there. So it's based on their household size. So I think for 2 people it might be $35,000.
Okay.
And HUD gives you those income limits when in the application. So if they're over that, and that's gross income, so if they're over that income, we can't help them.
Okay.
Cheryl, with the rehab part, doesn't Opportunities offer a program like that too?
Opportunities offers weatherization.
It's just weatherization?
They do
Okay.
weatherization.
Okay.
And we work with them. So some of our homeowners may get weatherization. They don't do roof, they don't do plumbing, they don't do
Okay.
electrical, they don't do mobile home replacement. We've, just so you know, we just completed our second mobile home replacement last Friday. We had somebody in Lions Falls and somebody in Tabor. I'm not sure what town that's in.
Where?
Tabor, I'm not sure what town
That's
that's in.
Oneida County, isn't
No.
it? Tabor?
Yeah.
That's down
No, it's in Lewis County, that's their
Might be
request.
part of
Might be an
I think it might be Leiden, might
And
be
you're
the
going,
town of
like, I
Leiden.
think to Ava, right?
But the
But it's on the
the
other side of
address,
West
Craig,
Lebanon.
Yeah.
the address might be
That's
Tabor,
the
but it's
mailing
16,
address,
7.
but I
But
think
it's in Lewis
the
County
town-
resident,
I think it's
in
in the
West
town of
Lebanon.
Leiden. Yeah, we've done two mobile home replacements. And the state, under the CDBG program and even under some of their other federal programs, they won't let you do work on mobile homes anymore. They require that you replace them. So that's why the home was, well, in this case, the second one we did, the home was so bad that they were running a generator just to have power. It was really dangerous. So we were able to do the replacement for them with the CDBG funds. So it's a good program. It gives you more money than other programs, but we really need to, because it's so competitive and we didn't really have enough time by the time they told us, they come out with the application in July and they want an application back in September. There really wasn't enough time by the time we found out what we needed to do to work on it, so. And the home ownership, this one, it's variable from year to year. We did a program with St. Lawrence County, if you remember, we were a subrecipient of St. Lawrence County, and we had a really hard time getting rid of the money because people could not find a home that they could afford. And this last year, the market's really changed. There are a lot of homes on the market now. I don't know why that is. If it's people are leaving the county, if seniors are going into nursing homes and their homes are on the market, or if it's due to deployments, we're really not sure, but there's quite a number of single-family homes. There's about 200 single-family homes on the market right now. We're hoping that, we'll be able to help some folks. They're not all of them are affordable, but that's the whole point of doing this program, so that people can buy down the mortgage.
Does this require a separate public hearing or request today? Or is it inclusive of the one we just had or are having?
I'm sorry.
This is the public hearing.
This is.
No,
For the 400,000?
she's
Yes.
talking
Yes.
about.
This is inclusive of that request?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't know what the amount's gonna be. We're estimating it's gonna be about, that we're gonna submit a homeownership application, or the county will, that we will write. For up to 400. I don't think it's gonna be more than that, because we do have to spend it in 2 years, so, for homeownership. So that's what we're asking the county to authorize.
What's the maximum allowed towards each house?
That 35. And that would be, it would be up to 35. In most cases, it would be about 25 or 12, about 22, 23 for down payment. And then if they needed repairs, we could do repairs up to about 12. But if they buy a house that doesn't need any repairs, and we just had 3 people buy houses that actually didn't need repairs. So we could use the full amount, you know, for that, because we can do some minimal repairs. We could
Do
do
they
electrical.
still, for the balance of it, do they still have to go through the bank for the mortgage?
The mortgage would be, 35,000 would be the grant dollars, and then they would need to get a mortgage for the difference. We can't do, under the CDBG program, you can't give them more than 50% of the purchase price for a grant. So you couldn't have somebody come in and say, okay, I found a house for $45,000 and I want you to give me $35,000 grant. We can't, it can't be more than 50%. And a house has to be existing home, it can't be a mobile home, or it could be a modular, but it has, or it can't be a camp. It would have to be a single family year-round residence. And we go out and look at them, so if it's really deteriorated, it can't be like a fixer-upper or something.
So you can't buy a used mobile home, but you can buy a new mobile home.
For the rehab program, we can't fix mobile homes. Under the homebuyer program, no, you can't buy a mobile home under the homebuyer program. You can't buy a new mobile home under the homebuyer program.
I thought you just said you bought 2 mobile homes.
We did, under the rehab program, we replaced 2 mobile homes under the rehab program, because the state won't let you fix them up. Yeah, we're administering a rehab program now, countywide rehab program now. Yeah.
So that $400,000 is included in the 850?
Yeah, you can apply for up to $850 for, that's a maximum award that the county can apply for, but you have to spend the money in 2 years, and it actually is a little bit less than 2 years, because the clock starts ticking when you get the award letter, and you still have to go through an environmental review process and a grant approval process. So it ends up being less than 2 years, and I just don't think we'd have enough applicants or enough, I don't think we'd have enough time to spend that much money in Lewis County. You know, if we were a larger county, St. Lawrence County applies every year for $750,000, but that's a huge county.
Is there a cap on the amount that an individual can apply for in its totality, like 75 or 80,000? Or does the bank decide that based on their income to loan ratio?
Usually, yeah, it usually is based on, it's a number that's based on what the house is worth, what the purchase price is, and what the bank will give them. So it's that gap it's basically filling a gap. Because if somebody goes to a bank and they may be able to afford the payment, but they need the money for the down payment. And typically the banks will want 20% down.
Right.
So what this program does is it fills that gap. So if somebody's looking at a house that's worth 90, that's selling for 90, and they can get the bank to give them 75, then the grant would kick in for that 15. That's kind of how that's typically the way the program's set up.
And once
It's not
they
really
stay in
a
it
fixed
10
amount.
years, that they're no longer obligated for any portion of that money.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't decrease until for the first 3 years, they have to pay it 100%, because what we're finding is, like Community Bank does the no closing cost mortgage, but if they live in the house, but if they don't live there 3 years, they have to pay the bank back for that no closing cost mortgage. So we kind of are pairing it with that. So for the first 3 years, they'd have to pay the 100%, and then it decreases after that. Yeah. And we also are telling people that as part of this program, they can't subordinate this mortgage to pay off other debt during that time period. Because what we were finding is sometimes people would go in and they'd buy a house and they'd get their mortgage, and then they'd have equity, and then they'd go to the bank and get home equity loan or want to refinance, pay off their credit cards because they bought all this stuff after they had their house. And we're saying, no, you can't do that. We're not gonna let you do that. So, you can pay, you know, if you want to get a subordination, you need to put more money into the home or, you know, do repairs or something like that. You know, not use it as collateral to pay off your credit cards or something. So. And they have to do a tax and insurance escrow as well. So as part of the program, they have to have their taxes and their insurance escrow. And the bank doesn't always do that, I found out. Maybe it doesn't always do that, but that's a requirement. Because we can't have people giving people money and then having their house go back to taxes.
Cheryl, you've done this program in the past, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've done it a number of times.
How successful has it been, you know, keeping, I guess, what's the percentage of foreclosures?
We've had very few. We've had very few foreclosures, actually. Even people who've had a situation where they've, let's say, we just had one where a young couple where they got divorced and one or the other of them kept the home. You know, we've had very few, actually, given, and I think it's because of the escrow. Because most of the foreclosures would be, you know, a lot of them would be for taxes. So we really haven't had very few.
In those cases where you've had, say, relocations, where a family's been forced to sell the home,
We have.
do you have a good percentage, a good history of recovering the monies that are owed you? If it's in that first 3 years?
We
You don't forgive that, right?
Yeah, we really haven't. We've had very few, though, that have gone back. I don't know. I
Does
think
someone
we
track
have-
them to see if the house has been sold? Is there a way
Yeah.
of tracking?
Yeah, because we file a grant mortgage on the house. There's a lien on the house. So if it goes into foreclosure, we'll know about it.
Well, not foreclosure, if they just sell it.
We don't
They-
know if it goes, if it's delinquent. We wouldn't necessarily know that, if, you know, if they have been paying their mortgage, unless it gets to the point where it's.
No, if I bought a house and I was given $20,000 from you,
Mhm.
and next year I relocate with my family, I put the house on the market, I sell the house, do you get your 20,000 back?
Oh, yeah, because it, yeah.
That's all I was
because it-
asking.
Yeah, it would be reported. The other thing that we have to do is, on some of these programs, is we haven't had to do it through the CDBG program, but some of these programs, we have to send out a notice to everybody in which they sign that they're still living in the house. Because we had a situation here in which we sent out one of those forms, and then we find out that they were not, in fact, living there, and they had to pay the money back. Yeah, that's a requirement. They're in default. If we find out that they're not living there, and this is a small community, so if you get a grant to buy a house and you're renting it out or you're not living there, somebody's gonna tell on you. That's what happened the last time. And we found out that this woman was not living in the house and she had to pay the money back.
Good.
Yeah, because you sign an agreement, and on the agreement, it is your permanent residence. It is your year-round permanent residence as part of that grant mortgage. In addition to keeping your taxes and mortgage paid, and your home insured and maintained, you have to live there year-round.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Questions for Cheryl? Thank you, Cheryl. Privilege of the floor. No? Any communications, Terry?
Don't have any?
Do any legislators have any reports from their committees?
I'll just do a quick update on the solar. To recap, the first go-around, we had a proposal, and these are all for 30 years. The savings would have been 6.7 million. And that was only from one person, so the committee, Jerry and Dick, weren't comfortable with that, and they wanted more quotes. So we went out again, and we got 4 back, and that time, it increased to 7.54 million over 30 years of savings. And then the hospital decided to join in, so we went out one more time because then we had solidified the size of the array. And when they came back last week, they were at 7.75 million. So obviously, in the course of it, we gained $1 million in savings. I would say though that in our opinion, or the committee's opinion, that is optimistic. We asked for a worst case scenario and it was basically half of that. So if it holds true to what we hope it will, we would get at least 3.85 million over 30 years of savings, and which is obviously considerable. So we are now going to be in the process of negotiating a PPA with the selected vendor. If it doesn't work out with them, the next vendor was very close to that, so we could have a fallback with them. So we will, in the next couple of weeks, be starting that process of negotiating the PPA and narrowing things down. And again, as I said before, that PPA has to be approved by the full board, so you get another shot to say no. And hopefully that would be at our next meeting, but that might be an aggressive thing because the people we're dealing with, their proposal was 106 pages long and the PPA itself was 41 pages, so obviously it's going to take some time to get through all that. And that's the update on that.
Very good, Phil.
Bill,
Brian?
yeah, Bill, how long do we have before we start the percentage of the grant drops? To the end of the year, do we? The incentives? Because I know each year they drop a certain percentage, so how long do we have before that percentage drops?
It's a two-stage thing, Brian, and it isn't on time, it's on the money being committed. But all indications are from anybody we've talked to about it, we could do something in October and still be okay. So it does give us time enough to try to get it right the first time, which is what we're trying to do with all of this.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Bill? Do any legislators have any other committee reports from their respective committees? Not, we move to Liz, anything? Patty? Okay. I do have one thing for your information. I got a call from Addie Russell's office this afternoon, and they are tentatively booking a date in Albany to discuss the UTV legislation. It's, they're looking at October 19th, but that's not confirmed yet, but I'll keep you posted. So, have we heard anything from Pilatus, or will we have a meeting amongst counties? Did you get that from them, Liz?
I didn't follow up with them. If you want me to, I will.
Probably it'd be nice to have something before we go off to Albany. I'm not sure who's involved in that session down there, but I suspect it would be within Addie's district.
Okay. Let me check with Mark.
Okay. Guess we can go on to resolutions.
Okay, so you'll close the hearing.
Do we have to close the public hearing? Is there that the time that we're okay?
I think we're fine.
Okay, all right, I'll announce the public hearing is closed if no one has any further comment. Public hearing is closed, we go to resolutions.
Number 300 is authorizing application for 2015 New York State Small Cities Community Development Block Grant.
Moved by Larry, second by Brian, discussion. Jerry?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When Terry read the presentation before, it was for all housing, and I'm just trying to understand it. Economic development, public facilities, public infrastructure, and planning. Where do they come into this? I mean, this was all for housing, I thought.
Yeah, you want me to answer that?
Please.
What they used to do, and they would do a NOFA, Notice of Application, at the beginning of the year for the Community Development Block Grant Program. They would have all of these different activities. This time what they did is they had the public facilities and the economic development one due July 31st. So they broke it up into two different things.
Okay.
So this time it's just housing. What they did tell us though is that next year they're hoping to get back on track, and what they suggested to us was that if the county did a resolution at the beginning of the year for the 2016 program year, and held a public hearing, say, during your organizational meeting, I don't know when that is, January. So if in January you held a public hearing in February or March, then that would be good for the whole year. So let's say somebody, the application doesn't come out until May for whatever funding it is. Or what they have done in the past is they've had an open round for economic development. So if you have a business, and they did that a few years ago, so that if you have a business that is looking to come into the county and you want to give them some of these funds, you don't have to wait and do the public hearing. So that's kind of an open route, but you still have to do the public hearing. But if you've already done one, it'll be good for the whole year. So that then when things come up, you don't have to do a special meeting. See, this time, they did the public facilities, infrastructure, and all that stuff due July 31st. Then July 15th, they came out with the housing notice that was due September 25th. So this was kind of an odd year.
So we're catching two with this one, essentially. Right. Okay, thank you.
So, but going forward, and I think it'd be a good idea to do that in the beginning of January, schedule public hearings so that, because you don't know what's going to come up. You don't know from year to year what's going to be available, and whether or not you're going to want to do a micro enterprise, or whether you're going to want to do economic development, or whether or not you want to do housing. And you can still do economic development as well as housing. Because it was a rolling round.
So they're just painting with a broad brush at the beginning of the year to allow you to apply for grants.
Right. Right, then you're not scrambling like this year, because they came out in July with this notice. We didn't even know why we didn't get funded, because they hadn't scheduled any exit conferences yet. So by the time we find out what we need to do to reapply, it's too late. But if you do it, if you do the public hearing at the beginning of the year, then you're good for the whole year. And what Terry read was sort of a generic. And that was, I ran that by the folks at the Office of Community Renewal to make sure that it was the right language. So we can just change the year to 2016 and do it again, so.
That makes sense.
Any other questions or comments regarding the resolution? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing retainer agreement with the Lattice Law Firm for professional services to assist in preparation of a PPA.
Moved by Phil, second by Dick. Discussion. All in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
To appropriate and transfer funds for the buildings and grounds.
Moved by Jerry, second by Brian. Discussion.
This is the piece of equipment that we authorized purchase of a couple of months ago, and now he's decided which one he wants, so this is just putting the money in to let him buy it.
This is a little bit out of 3 bids.
And it's all reimbursable by DSS as well. Over 4 years, at 75% of that will come back to us.
Greg, go ahead.
So you're saying 75% of it is coming back?
75% of the 24,000 would come back to us over 4 years.
Over 4 years.
We'll
So it's
be
not
paying-
all of it?
No, we're paying 25% of the cost.
This was part of that special needs for the parking lot up there?
Yeah.
Just more costs?
This is what you already agreed to when we discussed this about with the equipment for Dave Becker's highway department as well as this.
So, oh, this is gonna be for Dave's department?
No, this is for Frank's department, but
Oh, okay.
we talked about both of them at the same time. Dave needed the sander, did you recall?
Yeah.
And Frank needed this, the John Deere, to mainly for clearing the snow down for the new sidewalk down to ARC.
So how big a tractor is this, Phil? You know,
No, I don't.
Approximately give or take a horsepower, 25 horsepower.
so it's a little diesel.
Yeah, it's a little treat.
I don't imagine it's too big for that money.
That's the blower with it.
Painted green, you know.
Yes, John Deere.
Got a cab for weather.
Cab and a heater.
Have you done that without a cab up there where the wind blows?
You need a can.
You need a cab.
Other questions or comments? All in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Does anyone else have any other business to come before this meeting at this time?
Well,
No?
I'm gonna need to go into executive session onto litigation matters.
Okay. We have a motion to go into executive session for litigation, moved by Craig, second by Dick. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? We are in executive session.